words to Jakub later. So I will have the presentation for 10, maximally 15 minutes. Only basic information. So hello again from people from Romania, people from Lithuania. So I'm going to try to show you the presentation. Just if anybody can say if you can see the presentation. Jakube, je to vidět?
Jo, bez problémů.
Super. So let's start. Some of you have not seen our company yet, so there is little introduction of OPOP. So about us, we are purely Czech company. Only Czech company is OPOP. We've got about 100 employees, depending on the season. Sometimes we've got 100, sometimes 120, 30. We are not greenhorns in the heating technology. We've got tradition for more than 70 years. It's important you know that we've got own production. 90% of the products are produced here. And also we've got our own developed department. So any changes are made here. Any changes, any developing on the boilers, on burners, hoppers and feeders. So it's good if we can do these things on our own. What is also important information for you is that our boilers, at the moment, all the boilers we are selling meet the 5th emission class, eco-design class, and also we are in BAFA database. Maybe you know, maybe not, but BAFA is the German database of heat sources for obtaining some dotation, some money back. At the moment, we export our products to more than 22 countries. So this is about the heating products, and we also do the, let's say, custom production for Switzerland. What does it mean? It means that we've got some drawings from Switzerland company called Conder, and on the base of the drawings we produce the products they need. Here you can see some photos from our company. This is the part where the boilers and other products are prepared. So cutting of the steel, painting of the steel. You can see the preparation hall at all, and also some storages for example, at the moment on the photo for Switzerland. So it's in brief about us at the moment. Regarding the technical advantages of our products, I mean boilers. The products are operable by the end customers even after 2022 year. It's about the eco-design, because the eco-design norm is starting to be valid for whole European Union from this year. So all our products are reaching the eco-design norm. Regarding the products and kilowatts, the products from OPOP are the smallest, are in the smallest dimensions, not only in Czech market, but also in other markets. And let's say also smallest in every performance, I mean in every kilowatts. If you find smaller boiler than ours, in some kilowatts, just let us know and we will make new one, even smaller. What is also a technical advantage is that our boilers are following the previous models. maybe you know our old products, H4, H41, H418, and so on. And we would like to sell our boilers also to our old customers, who has got the previous boilers. So this is also advantages. What is important about, let's say, about the Biopel boilers is that there is easy installation, especially Biopel Plus or Biopel hydraulic set, because you, respectively your customers, obtain the boiler, the burner, the tank, and in the version Plus he also obtain installed compressor cleaning and the ash removal. Regarding the pellet boilers and the basic set is fully functional set. What I mean is that if you, for example, if you order Biopel Compact 30, you obtain boiler, burner and tank, also with the control box inside. So if the customer doesn't need any other things like compressor cleaning or ash removal or room thermostat, this set is functional. So this is also advantage according to the competitors, because some competitors are selling just everything separately, so the customer has to make the right price quite difficult. I hope that you can see all the presentation, that it is not stuck on the first one. Regarding the type series, regarding the boilers, we've got manual boilers with the manual loading, with the automatic loading, with the combine, and also we've got combined boilers. So the manual loading boilers are H4 Eco U for coal, brown coal, and also there is boiler with manual loading for wood logs called H4 Eco D. Automatic loading, we've got also two types. For H8 for coal, especially for coal, and then for pellets it's series Biopel. I will show you the products later. The combined boilers, we've got combination for wood logs and pellets called Biopel Combi, and combination for coal and pellets H4 Eco Pellet. So these are the main type series: manual loading, automatic loading, combined boilers. Let's see the products at the moment. So manual loading, H4 Eco U. We produce this series at the moment in three levels of kilowatts: 16, 20, 25. We are waiting for H4 Eco U 12 kilowatts. We are waiting for the testing results from the institute. At the moment, we are in the process to obtain emission for the eco design norm for H4 Eco 12. The efficiency you can see below. Regarding the manual loading for wood logs, we've got boiler called H4 Eco D. You can see it here. We produce it also in 3 kilowatt levels: 16, 20, 25. We reached 5th emission class, and also we've got eco design. Regarding the automatic loading, I was talking about series H8. This boiler has got the retort burner, and you can use this type of boiler for brown, black coal and pellets, and also combination. These boilers can have the tank from left or right side around the boiler. It doesn't matter. It is prepared from both sides. So the customer can decide which side he needs, let's say, in the heating room. He hasn't got to order it in advance, if right or left type. For you is very important this series, this boiler with automatic loading, Beople Premium, Premium Plus. So you can see the whole range from 10 kilowatt to 200 kilowatt. You can see that the design of the boiler is different. About that will Jakub say you more. This boilers has got the possibility of various tanks, different sizes, and also there is the plus type where the compressor cleaning is possible, and the compressor is set up inside of the compact tank here. And here you can see the automatic ash removal. As to the newest boilers, we've got Beople Mini, Beople Mini Tower, and both these types can be in variation plus. What is the difference? Beople Mini, you can see here, very small boiler and small tank with the burner in the front. This is also Beople Mini, but variation plus. You can see the ash removal here, and the compressor cleaning is prepared inside the tank. What is the advantage is that it's very small size of the boiler and the tank as well, and we produce this Beople Mini in the range 11, 15, 21, 30, 40. We reached the 5th emission class and eco design as well. Beople Mini Tower, you can see on these pictures, and you can also see the difference between two minis. Mini Tower has got the tank over the boiler, right? So this is tiny size, let's say no mini size, but tiny size of the set. These boilers are also produced in the outputs 11, 15, 21, 30, 40, and also you can have it in the standard set, also in the plus set, with the compressor cleaning and the ash removal. So let's go on. Here you can see the combined boilers, Beople Combi and H4 Eco Pellet. So combination of wood, burning the wood logs, and the pellets. You've got two 100% boilers for wood and for pellets. This is advantage, big advantage. You've got two 100% boilers for special fuel. These boilers are connected on the back with a 2-1 chimney with this T-type thing. What is disadvantage? You need a big heating room, but some people needs this type of combination for big houses. So it is a solution for them. And this combined boiler we prepare in 16 kilowatt, 20, 25 kilowatts. And as you could see in the previous part of presentation, these boilers for logwoods and pellets are in the emission class 5 and eco design as well. Regarding the combination pellets and coal, if you buy the boiler H4 Eco for coal, and later you buy the burner, our burner, which we are using for biopower, you can add it to the boiler for coal as well, and you can burn the coal and you can burn the pellets as well. The combination between the advantage of this boiler is that you do not have to buy the burner straight away when you are buying the boiler for coal. You can buy the burner later, no problem. What is the difference between two of these combination boilers? This boiler for coal and pellet works like that. You have to know in advance what you are going to burn that day. You can burn only coal that day or only pellets, because you have to change on the front of the boiler. If you burn the coal, you have to close the hole in front of the boiler. If you use pellets, you have to put the burner in the hole in front of the boiler. Here, for Biopol Combi, if you are starting with the wood logs, as soon as the wood logs are burned, starting the pellet boiler. There is one control box which is controlling the system. So it's about our boilers at all at the moment. And I thank you for your attention, and I hope you will enjoy the technical part of the presentation with Jakub, who will start just now. And I have to tell you that we will send you my presentation and also Jakub's presentation later. Right after the end of the presentation, we will send you all the material we used at the moment. Right? So thank you very much for your attention, and Jakub can start to give you as much technical information as he knows.
Okay, thank you
so thank you very much and enjoy the day. Jakub is starting.
Jarko, please tell me if you...
Už tě přepínám.
Yes, please tell me if you hear me. Slyšíš mě v pohodě?
Já tě slyším v pohodě. I can hear you, Jakub.
Okay. So Jarka gave you basically, standard information, basic information about all range of boilers we produce, which was really good. And I prepared for you not only presentation about boilers we have. I have presentation about boilers we produced recently, about new products we are planning for near future. I will show you also some 3D models of new boilers, so you can see in detail what new products we produced in past year. And because it should be training, I will show you also control units and try to explain you the basic information about how to operate the control units and how to start the boilers for the first time. So we will start with my presentation, so give me a second and I will show you what I have for you. So hopefully right now you see my presentation. Jarka, do you see?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So yep.
Can you make it bigger?
This is
that's better.
This is the maximum I can do for you.
Yeah, good, very good.
Okay. So this is what you saw when Jarka told you about our boiler range. So right now, basically, these are the boilers we sell, we can offer to you. And for today, I would mainly would like to talk about, of course, Biopel Mini on the left top corner, because this is new boiler we developed in past months. Speaking of automatic boilers, I will talk a little bit about H4 Eco with pellet burner from the front as well. And we will start with our manual boilers range, and mainly about H4 Eco D, the gasification boiler for wood. The reason is that we right now currently certify bigger boilers, bigger powers of this boiler. So as you can see right now, the maximum power we can offer you is 25 kilowatt, and hopefully soon we will have a range of these boilers up to 50 or maybe 60 kilowatts. So this will be the first boiler we will talk about, and I will show you the details about the boiler. So let's start. H4 Eco D. On the left side you see standard version we have right now, powers 16, 20, 25 kilowatt. It is boiler which is really small. The height of the boiler is less than 1 meter, and the reason for that is that the filling door for the wood logs is on the top. Okay, so that's let's say special thing about this boiler, that the filling door is from the top. And on the right side you see boiler in development, basically boiler with the same name. It's same type of boiler, gasification boiler, but you see that it looks quite different because there is one major difference, and that is that the filling door is not from the top, but the filling door for the wood logs is from the front. Okay, and this boiler is basically meant for bigger houses, bigger powers. So to be exact, next week we go to the institute to certify 60 kilowatt version. So hopefully we will be successful, and if so, then we will produce, and actually right now in production we have smaller version which will be 35 kilowatt, and you know, when produced we will start to test the 35 kilowatt version of the boiler. So here you can see basically our test room where we test all our boilers before certification to make sure that all the emission limits are you know, achieved before we go to the institute and certify it, you know, to receive the certification protocol. So this boiler is 60 kilowatt. Right now we are not sure exactly if the power will be 60 kilowatt. I think maybe the power will be a little bit lower, maybe 55 or something like that. And as you can see, the filling door is in the front, and it's of course big boiler. It's 50-60 kilowatts, so the boiler is big, but because of the size of the boiler, you can fit there quite long wood logs. This boiler will be able to burn half meter wood logs with no problem. So quite a good boiler, I would say, for bigger houses or some industrial usage. What I would like to do right now is that I would like to show you 3D model of the boiler, because with the 3D model I can show you better, you know how the boiler looks, how the boiler is designed. So we will right now move from the presentation, and give me a second, and I will open for me 3D model of the boiler. And when opened, I can explain you, I think, better what are the main design features of this boiler. So hopefully right now you can see two types, as we talked about it, two types of H4 Eco boiler. On the left side you see standard boiler, small size boiler. On the right side you see the prototype of the new boiler up to 60 kilowatt. So let me show you the big boiler first. Basically the design is that you have front doors which are mainly designed just to keep the heat inside, because when you certify boilers, one thing which is measured is the heat on the surface, or temperatures of the surface of the boiler, and from that you calculate the efficiency of the boiler. So better insulation you have, lower surface temperatures you achieve, and then you have, of course, higher efficiency because of that. So that's why the top doors or the front doors are designed like this, and basically behind them you have two additional doors. The front door is, the top door is for the filling of the wood, of course, and the bottom door is just for the ash removal. If I open these doors on the top, you can see that you have quite good, open space. So you can fill the wood logs with no problem, and the filling shaft is quite deep, so you can imagine that you can fill from here to the top quite a good volume of the wood. So when this boiler works at maximal power, let's say 60 kilowatt, the wood logs, when you fill it to the top, burns for, let's say, plus minus 5 hours. Okay, when the boiler works at maximal 60 kilowatt power. Of course, in normal conditions, in heating room, customer doesn't want to heat or doesn't need to heat all the time at full power, so it could work there for 10 hours with no problem when the boiler runs at lower than maximal 60 kilowatt power. Of course, it is important to say that these kind of boilers, we say as a producer, should be always installed with the buffer tank, at least some small buffer tank. Anyway, in Czech Republic, for example, it is a strict regulation that government norm tell us that these gasification boilers must be installed always with buffer tank. Of course, depends on the countries. Maybe some other countries has these rules not so strict. So we as a producer say that the best is to install this boiler with the buffer tank, especially when we talk about these kind of big boilers, 60 kilowatt boiler for industrial use. It is, I think, wise. It is, I think, good idea to install it with the buffer tank. With the buffer tank, then of course you can heat at maximal power always, because you lose no heat. All the heat goes to the buffer tank. So let me open the boiler from the side, maybe, so you can see inside how it looks. Of course, here you have a fire clay brick. In the middle there is open space. We don't know exactly, how big this opened nozzle for the flame will be, because the size of this nozzle, determines the final power of the boiler. So we are experimenting with the size right now. And of course, smaller the nozzle size, then better emissions you have, because less of the emissions goes through the boiler to the chimney. But of course, you get also smaller power, so you have to find good compromise and have the nozzle size for the power mainly you want to achieve. So here you would have, of course, wood logs filled to the top, because there is no air coming on the top of this chamber. Only primary air which is going to the boiler is through this flap, which is here. So these openings are for the main primary air, which creates the power. More air you get through these openings, bigger power you will get. And around inside you see these small holes, and these holes divide or distribute the primary air around the chamber. Okay, so from every section of the chamber you get plus minus the same amount of air, which results in a good combustion, and it makes sure basically that the wood burns everywhere the same speed. Okay, so from the right side of the boiler and from the left side of the boiler you have these two primary flaps, and there is always marker which tells you what is the position of the flap for the nominal, for the maximal power. So if we say that this boiler is let's say 60 kilowatt, there is a marker, there is a line, indicating the 60 kilowatt power range. So the customer, when he needs 60 kilowatt, he just moves this flap on the marker, and by this he makes sure that the power is 60 kilowatt. Of course, it depends on more factors. It depends on the wood type. If you burn hardwood or softwood, let's say, and it highly depends also on the chimney draft. So of course, higher chimney draft you have, then bigger power you can achieve. But plus minus, this boiler operates at 15 pascals chimney draft, and with 15 to 20 pascals you can achieve with no problem 60 kilowatt if you move the main primary flap on the indicated position. And then of course you can move it to open position a little bit more to have maybe a little bit higher power if you have the buffer tank and you want to heat the buffer tank as fast as possible. Or you can close the flap to the left like this, and to have a little bit lower power. What is important to say is that you never ever can close this flap fully. Let's say if I want to close the flap, the maximum I am allowed to do is like this. So there is always some small opening for the primary air to make sure that there is actually burning process always performed. Because if you imagine that you fill the tank or the shaft, the filling shaft to the top, you have burning wood inside. You have to get inside some amount of air to make the combustion all right. Okay, so you cannot close the flap fully. There is always some small burning process inside. But of course, if you reach the temperature, let's say on the control unit you will select I want 80 degrees temperature. When you reach 80 degrees, the exhaust fan, which is on the back side of the boiler, this is exhaust fan, and you know, the exhaust fan will stop working, and the boiler, when you reach the temperature, will operate only on a normal chimney draft you have inside the chimney. And then of course when the chimney temperature, or when the boiler temperature, outcoming boiler temperature from the boiler goes down again, then of course the fan will start again to operate. So there is a power modulation you know, managed by the control unit of the boiler, depending on the temperature of the boiler you will select. In this case, you see that the selection is 77 degrees. So till the temperature from 25 goes up to 77, the boiler operates at maximal power, and then when you have 77, it will slowly decrease the power, or actually it will decrease the power a little bit sooner than the selected temperature. So in this case, when we have, for example, 75 or 74 degrees, it will start to reduce the fan speed, and because of that it will reduce the power. The main source of the power is the exhaust fan. Of course, the primary flap also changes the power of the boiler. It also changes how fast the wood inside burn. So of course, when the flap is more opened, then the burning wood burns out quickly. But the main power source is the fan. So basically, higher fan speed means bigger power of the boiler. And later on the control unit, I will show you how to change the fan speed, or I will show you the pre-select power ranges. So basically, when you have 20 kilowatt, the fan speed is lower comparing to 60 kilowatt boiler, when of course fan speed is higher. At the bottom, of course, you have the chamber where all the flame goes. So from the bottom, of course, from these openings, flame goes down. Here you have again fire clay bricks to make emissions better. And one speciality of this boiler is that it has pipe exchanger. Who knows our boilers? He knows that usually we have you know, horizontal or vertical flat smoke coolers where the water is inside. But in this case, we have pipes. Each pipe can be fitted by turbulators to, you know, again reduce the dust inside the chimney and reduce the chimney temperature, so you have higher efficiency. In a real boiler, when we start to sell it, there will be probably less turbulators, because we discovered that the chimney temperature is not so high as we expected. So there will be probably like only 4 turbulators inside, and the chimney temperature during operation will be probably something around 150, maybe 160 degrees inside the chimney, plus minus. We don't know yet. We will see when we certify the boiler in the institute. Okay, so the flame, or the smoke from the flame goes like this to first pipe heat exchanger, then it goes up like this, then again down like this, up, and here you have exhaust through the fan to the chimney. Of course, from the top here you have cleaning doors, so you can access the heat exchanger quite easily and clean everything properly. Each boiler has cooling loop. This device is a cooling loop. It's basically protection against overheating. So when the boiler has a temperature higher than 95 degrees, there is a temperature sensor which detects the overheating situation, and basically you connect the cold water to one of these outlets. So let's say this is inlet for the cold water, and when the boiler is overheated, cold water goes inside and goes through the heat exchanger, through the cooling loop, and then goes again out of the boiler to some waste, and by this you cool down the boiler and make sure that the boiler does not overheat. So basically this is how the big boiler looks like, and now we can compare it with the small boiler, which we already produce, I think, for 4 or 5 years, I don't know exactly, but we produce it quite a long time right now. And with the smaller boiler, I would like to show you more about the standard procedures you need to perform when you install the boiler for the first time. So the last section of my speech about this boiler will be about startup of this boiler, and we will check also the control unit of the boiler to show you what you should select when you start the boiler for the first time. So I will remove the big boiler right now, and we will continue for a few minutes to speak about this boiler. So filling from the top, of course, as I said, because we have filling from the top, we need to let's say remove the smoke from the filling chamber, because if you want to load the boiler, if you want to fill again the wood logs inside, you have to make sure that there is no smoke inside this chamber, so no smoke goes out of the boiler. And we manage this by the, let's say, firing flap. On the side there is a flap. Right now it's in closed position, okay, and this handle is connected to this flap which is inside. And when I can basically open the flap like this, move it to open position, and two things happen. The control unit detects that the flap is opened here. So on the screen of the control unit, on the left top corner here, you will see message opened flap, which basically tells you that this flap is opened. And second thing what happens is that the fan starts to operate at maximal power. Okay, so this fan will start to move at 100%, and because of that, of course, it removes the smoke from this chamber. There is an opening on the top here, so when the flap is in opened position or smoke is exhausted, is drawn away through this opening to the chimney. Of course, you open the flap before you open the doors. Okay, so you move the handle to the opened position, then the control unit will increase the speed of the fan, and you wait, let's say 15 or 20 seconds till all the smoke is removed, and then you can slowly open the door and fill new wood inside. What is important to say is that, you know, the control unit will indicate where the fuel inside is almost all gone. Okay, so again, on the control unit, this indication here tells you when the wood inside is almost all burnt out, and the control unit you know, detects this situation because of the chimney temperature. So let's imagine that you know, with the chimney temperature raising up, the control unit knows that the boiler is burning. But when there is not, or when the fuel is almost burnt, then of course the chimney temperature goes down again. On the screen again here, hope you can see it. Right now it says 25 because, let's say, the boiler is off, switched off, but normally you would see here 130, 140 degrees, and that's the chimney temperature. And when the chimney temperature goes down below, let's say 60, it will start to indicate that the wood is almost burnt, and in this situation you can open the door and you know, fill the chamber with new wood logs. What is also important to say is that, you know, when you fill the boiler with the wood logs when indicated on the screen, when the chimney temperature is low, then inside you will have only remaining hot parts. There will be no smoke inside the chamber, so there will be also no smoke coming out of the doors. But it is always good to open this flap first to remove the smoke, and then open the top doors. There is a micro switch here, which basically tells, this is the micro switch, and this switch basically tells the control unit that you know, the handle is in opened position. So when I close the handle or close the flap, the micro switch is switched on, connected, and control unit knows that the door or the firing flap is closed, and the speed of the fan is, you know, standard as pre-selected in service menu for normal operation. When I move the flap to open position, it releases the switch, and the switch is responsible for telling the control unit that the flap is opened. So you always know that the flap is opened, and because it's indicated on the screen, you should not, you know, forget about this flap, and you should be able to close it, you know, to closed position, because you see on the screen when the flap is in opened position. So let's talk about the firing process. When you want to ignite the wood, of course you put just small number of wood pieces inside, and you ignite from the top. So you ignite it here, and what I recommend is that you move all the flaps to opened position. So primary flap on the left side, primary flap on the right side, you just move it to open position. Okay, on the left, open position. So maximum amount of air is going inside the boiler to, you know, produce big flame, to make sure that the wood logs will ignite properly. Then of course, when you see that there is a normal burning process, you can fill wood logs to the top, close the door, and then basically right away you can move the primary flaps to the marked position, which is here. You can see, you know, here there is an indication of the maximal power of the boiler. So let's say if this boiler is, let's say, 25 kilowatt, when you move during operation this flap to the marked position like this, then you basically make sure that the power of the boiler will be maximum, so 25 kilowatt. Of course, don't forget to do it on both sides of the boiler to make sure that the combustion is even on the left and on the right side too. Okay. In the front you have secondary air flap, because of course the primary air goes above the fire clay brick and the secondary air goes to the brick in the middle here. So when I open the door again, basically let's say that inside this small nozzle there are opened holes which distribute the secondary air which is in the front. What I recommend is to have this flap in opened position when you ignite the wood, and after the ignition, when you fill up the filling chamber with the wood, you can again move the secondary air flap to the marked position, and the secondary air is basically responsible for emissions, for better emissions, for low emissions, let's say. So in some countries there is a strict rule that when you install new boiler, you have to measure the emissions to make sure that the emissions will match the certificate or the dedicated values. So because of that, we have here secondary flaps, so everyone can adjust when measuring the emissions what is the best position of this flap for the best emissions. But in our experiment, in our experience, we experimented with the position quite a lot, and this marked position should be the best for the best emissions. So you can leave it at this position during combustion and you should be fine to get quite a low emissions. Of course, as Jaroslava said, the boiler is in eco-design standard, it's class 5, so it has really good emissions, let's say. So this is how you ignite. Speaking of heat exchanger, with the small version of the boiler, you see that there are standard vertical smoke coolers like this. Inside there is a water, of course, and here you have turbulators. So again, the air goes through the bottom like this, to the top, bottom, to the top, and to the chimney. There is a small protection flap, which is this one, which is protecting the firing flap here, okay? Because of course you have flame coming from the bottom, and even here on the top you can have temperatures like 500 degrees or something like that. So this small protection flap is here just to protect the firing flap, so it doesn't bend after some time or something like that. You can remove this protection plate and you can remove this fire clay brick at the top. This is just for the better emissions here, because you know quite a lot of heat comes here on the top, and here you can catch some remaining dust particles on the top of the boiler. Speaking of cleaning, On the top, you just remove the lid, remove the cleaning door. There is this protection plate, remove it, and then you can easily access inside the heat exchanger and clean it properly. Okay, so this is how basically the boiler looks like. This is the future, hopefully near future. We will inform you when the big boiler will be ready. I think it should be in 1 or 2 months at least. We should have certified the bigger version of the boiler, 60 kilowatt, and then we will work on the 35 kilowatt. And of course there will be powers also between. The 35 kilowatt will be the lowest boiler with this design, and we plan to have something around 40, maybe 45, something like that. Basically from range 35 to 60 kilowatt there will be 3 or 4 boiler versions. So let's say maybe 35, 42, 50, 60 kilowatt, something like that. It's hard to judge, you know, what will be the power exactly, because the boiler, it's not like pellet boiler that you can keep one power all the time. So there is a range of power in which the boiler operates. So we will see which powers we will achieve. Okay. And last thing I would like to show you about this boiler is the control unit. Just to give you brief overview, you know, what is the important steps to do when you start the boiler for the first time, and at least you can see the light out of the control unit. So give me a second and I will change the screen for you, and I will show you something about the control unit in a second. So hopefully you can see the control unit right now. This is how the control unit of the H4Eco boiler looks like. And I have to say that, you know, comparing this boiler to the pellet boilers, for example, this boiler is really simple. You have a simple screen. Who knows the control units from tech company knows how the control unit looks like probably. But for newcomers, for people who doesn't know this control unit, just quick explanation of the main screen you can see here. Or let's say first we will change the language. Okay, so when you start the boiler for the first time, it will be probably in Czech language. So to change the language, you just push this main button here. So you will get to the menu, and then if you go down, you can find selection which is Volba jazyka, that's Czech language, for Czech translation for language selection. So you push the button and here you can change the language. So we have quite a lot of languages here. The menu is not so big, so it's quite easy to translate it to more languages. So if we check all the languages we have, or let me change it to English first, and then you can see what we have here. Okay, so maybe not all languages in the world are here, but there is quite a lot of languages. Okay, so for now we will keep it in English, of course, because at least I can understand English, so I will keep it mainly for myself in English language. So the main screen here, really simple stuff. On the left side you see the current outcoming boiler temperature, hot water which is coming out of the boiler, and here you can see the set temperature. So right now it's 60 degrees. Again, if I move this button to the right side, I can change the temperature. The maximum temperature you can select is 85. Okay, right now here I have a little bit older software version, so the maximum I can select is 80. But with the new software version, the maximum of the power or of the temperature you can select is 85. It is mainly because the buffer tank, because for the buffer tank it's good to have as high temperature as possible, but in the same time, of course, you want to make sure that you do not overheat the boiler. The overheating temperature is 95 degrees, and you have to make sure that there is some distance between the maximum selected temperature and the overheating temperature. So in our case, the maximum temperature you can select is 85. When the boiler starts to modulate power down, it reaches 85 degrees, and you can expect that sometimes it goes even few degrees higher than 85. Depends on the chimney draft, on the position of the primary flaps. If you have flaps opened more than the indication, then of course you can expect that the power can go a little bit higher. But if you have chimney draft with a range of 15 to, let's say, 20 pascals, then there should be safe distance between the set temperature and the overheating temperature. On the right side there is a fan indication, so you can see the power on which the fan is currently operating. Right now the boiler is switched off, of course, so the fan is 0%. The indication of the operation status is here. Damped in English means something like extinguish, so it's switched off. So if I push again this button, first option is firing up. Okay, so here I can activate the boiler. Firing up, do you want to accept, confirm, and now okay, it indicates the open door because it's just controlling it, it's not on the boiler. So switch for the doors are right now in open position, but at least you can see right now what happens when the firing flap for the smoke removal, when it is in open position, it indicates like this that the flap is opened, and because of that the fan speed is 100%. Yeah, maybe I can find the button and try to switch the button here. So if I switch the button, it goes back to standard operation. On the left top corner you see that it indicates the firing up procedure, and here is the fan speed for the firing up procedure. Usually the speed of the fan is quite high. I don't think it's 100%. The standard selection is something like 50 or 60% for ignition process, because if you have really low speed of the fan, you risk that the flame will be lost when you fill the wood to the top after the first ignition situation. Okay, so right now the boiler is checking two temperatures. It checks mainly the chimney temperature here on the right top corner, and it is also checking the boiler temperature. And if the chimney temperature is higher than 60 degrees, or when the boiler temperature is higher than 40 degrees, the boiler goes from firing up procedure to normal operation. Okay, so basically it checks the temperature and then automatically goes to normal operation, and then of course it tries to achieve 80 degrees. When it's near to 80 degrees, it will modulate the power down. Okay, so this is the standard boiler operation. The last thing I would like to show you is basically what to do when you start the boiler for the first time. There is a selection of the power inside the menu. So if we go down to service settings, service menu, push the button, there are different codes for different selection, different setup, okay? And to select the power of the boiler, you use passport 5164, okay? So this is just selection of the power. It is not service menu, it is just for the power of the boiler. This selection we do in the factory. So when we produce the boiler, during the last checkup of the boiler, during the checking procedures, if everything is installed properly, the person will also select the power of the boiler. So in our case, let's say we have 25. But I want you to know the password, because sometimes, you know, it's good to know the password. You know, you can use it if you want. And depending on which power we will select, of course, we will save different values inside the service menu, and mainly the speed of the fan, okay? So I will give you example. Let's say we selected 25 kilowatt, and now we can go to the service menu, which is different password. You probably some know the password, so 5162. And inside we changed a few things. So let me show you. In boiler settings, we changed ignition parameters and operational parameters. And mainly we changed the fan speed operation during ignition and operation, okay? During ignition, you have min working fan 25% and max working fan 45%. So there is a limit for ignition. Limit is 30 minutes, and during these 30 minutes the temperature of the chimney should rise above 60 degrees, so the boiler goes from ignition to normal operation. And during these 30 minutes the speed of the fan goes from starting point 0.25 to 45% to make sure that when it starts to burn more and more and you have bigger and bigger flame, you need of course higher and higher speed of the fan. And when the boiler goes to normal operation, when the boiler is when the wood is ignited, in operational parameters you have again minimum working fan 28 and maximum working fan 48. And these selections are different for different powers, okay? So for example, we spoke about 60 kilowatt boiler, and we have selection of 60% for 60 kilowatt power. So depending on which power is selected, there are different values of the fan speed, but I'm showing you this because you can change these values. You know, if you think that the speed of the fan is too high, you can see that, for example, the chimney temperature is too high. For example, maybe the chimney draft is too high. Then you can decrease the max working fan to lower percentage, for example, or the opposite. If you feel that the power has not enough power and you would like to have bigger power for some reason, you can of course open the primary flaps a little bit more, but you can also increase the speed of the fan in this service menu. What I recommend is to always check the chimney temperature, because you know with the chimney temperature you can judge if the boiler has proper power or not, because if you take manual of the boiler, you can see in first pages what should be the chimney temperature for maximal power of the boiler. And if you see that during operation the boiler has plus minus the temperature which is written in the manual, then you know that the power of the boiler is correct. When you see lower or higher temperatures, then you know that you should do something about that. Of course, higher temperature usually indicates to a bigger chimney draft than it should be. Then of course you can implement some draft stabilization flap inside the chimney or reduce the speed of the fan a little bit. Last thing I want to show you before we will have short break is the sustain mode. This is basically mode when the boiler reaches the temperature. So in the fitters menu, there are all accessories you can connect to the boiler, and one of these is sustain mode. This is not accessories, but this is mode for the boiler when you reach the temperature. So let's say we have reached 80 degrees, the fan speed goes down, and when you are over the 80 degrees, the fan speed the fan will stop, and the fan then operates only after some time, periodically, let's say. So in this selection we have we have fan operation 5 seconds, fan pause time 10 minutes, and blow force, basically speed, is 20%. So each 10 minutes the fan will operate only 5 seconds, and it will operate with only 20% of the speed, just to make sure that there is some combustion process inside. But with this selection you should not be worried about reaching the overheating temperature. If there is a overheating situation, it is usually because of higher chimney draft, and I recommend, for example, increase the fan pause time, to put here maybe 15 or 20 minutes to make sure that the fan is not operating too often when you reach the temperature, so it does not overheat the boiler. Okay, last thing, in the fitters menu you see all the accessories you can connect. So in standard way you can connect one mixing valve into the boiler, and with additional device you can have 2 additional mixing valves connected to the boiler and operated by the control unit of the boiler. Then of course you can connect room thermostat, you can connect GSM module to operate the boiler through your SMS messages via mobile phone. If you have internet connection inside the house, you can connect the boiler to the Ethernet module, which is not standard. You have to buy it for additional price, but you can have application on your mobile phone even for the H4 Eco boiler to see the operation of the boiler, to receive maybe some messages from the boiler. That's possible. Then of course the boiler has as a standard one buffer tank temperature sensor. So because it's meant to operate with the buffer tank, then we have of course a buffer option, buffer selection with buffer temperature sensor. And what else we have here? Of course it can operate the DHV domestic hot water with additional pump. There is also another additional pump for another usage. Basically you can start the pump with some timer, for example, or you can have 2 DHV pumps, you can have 2 CH pumps, and so on. So these are the accessories you can connect. That's probably all. Yes. Okay, so really simple boiler. I would say in many cases it is also let's say similar with the pellet boiler, because for example selection for the room thermostat or selection for the mixing valve operation are almost the same as on the pellet boiler. So hope you liked it. We will inform you about this new bigger boiler. You are basically first people who saw this boiler on the pictures and on the presentation. So hopefully we will manage to certify this bigger boiler soon. Of course, with the smaller powers you can always go right now, because we offer it I think for 4 or 5 years right now. So what we will do right now, we will make some short break, 15 minutes or so. So let's say 11 hours 5 minutes, something like that. We will start again second part of my presentation, which will be dedicated to pellet boilers. So you can have coffee or toilet time or something like that, and in like 15 minutes please be back, and we will continue. Okay, so thank you very much so far, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Very good, Jakub.
Thank you.